As dawn broke on a day that would never be forgotten, the skies revealed a sight that defied human understanding. Amid a celestial panorama, there appeared a figure of unparalleled majesty, a woman clothed with the sun itself. Her robe glowed golden, so bright and pure that mortal eyes would struggle to hold her gaze. Beneath her delicate feet, the moon bowed in humble obedience, and above her head, a radiant crown adorned with 12 twinkling stars, each proclaiming the legacy of a tribe, a divine promise. This spectacle was not just for the delight of the eyes, but a harbinger of a celestial drama about to unfold, a story of love and war, of promises and persecutions. With her solemn and imposing presence, the woman didn't just walk on the moon, she stood against the darkness, facing a conflict that would stretch beyond the bounds of the visible, where the forces of good and evil meet in eternal dispute. While the world below remained oblivious to worldly concerns, this celestial vision wove the beginning of a narrative that would test the fabric of time and spirit. In that sacred and silent moment, the heavens spoke, and their message would resonate through the ages, echoing the eternal battle between divine light and the shadows seeking to smother its flame. The woman, radiant and powerful, was ready, not just to face her destiny but to shape it with the strength of her celestial will. In the veils between worlds, where heaven kisses earth, a cry tore through the celestial silence, the sun-clothed woman now doubled in agony. Each sob, each cry, a symphony of pain and anticipation, reverberating through the ethers. She, an image of divinity and humanity intertwined, faced the labor not just of a child, but of a promise. This was the moment when the hope of all nations hung by a thread as fragile as the cry of a child. The pains she endured were more than physical, they were the weight of a fallen world, a burden borne through ages of expectations and prophecies. The air around was charged with palpable tension, as if even the heavens held their breath, awaiting the fulfillment of an ancient promise. With each contraction, a wave of pain and power, the woman brought closer the advent of a new era. This birth was not just of flesh and blood, but of spirit and truth, a life that would rule with justice and iron, a life destined to change the course of the world. Amid the struggle between good and evil, her pain was the tipping point, the sunrise after the longest night, bringing light to a humanity in shadows. Thus, at that sacred threshold of pain and glory, the woman, crowned with stars and robed in light, prepared to offer the world not just a child, but an era of redemption. It was a moment of awe and wonder, one that would resonate through generations like the blast of a trumpet heralding victory in the midst of the darkest battle. At the climax of that battle fought not with swords but with wills, the woman's cry pierced the veil of suffering, giving way to the pure and powerful cry of new life. Under the glow of the sun and the watchful eyes of the stars, the male child was born, a child with a destiny heavier than his fragile form suggested. This newborn was not just a son, he was the bearer of a divine promise, the heir to a kingdom that would stretch beyond visible borders. Like iron shaping the world, so would be his reign, marked not by tyranny but by unbreakable justice. His first breath was more than a sign of life, it was the fanfare of a new era. As he cried, the heavens and earth seemed to pause, recognizing the arrival of a leadership that would challenge the very foundations of evil. The challenges that awaited this little warrior were immense, worthy of ancient tales of heroism and courage. He was born into a world that needed not just a ruler, but a savior, a one who could wield the rod of iron not as an instrument of oppression, but as a staff of liberation. His mission would be to face storms, combat injustices, and restore order in a world torn by chaos. Around him, even the angels seemed to whisper among themselves, marveling at the potential of this small, robust life. The woman, still wrapped in the light of the sun and crowned by stars, watched with eyes that reflected both exhaustion and pride. For she knew that despite her son's fragility, in his veins ran the promise of an eternal reign, a reign that began at that very instant, with a simple yet profound cry of a baby. As the celebration of the birth still echoed through the heavens, a sinister shadow unfolded over the celestial scene. From a forgotten corner of the cosmos, emerged a creature of terrible majesty and evil power, the dragon. With 7 arrogant heads, each crowned with the insignia of rebellion, and 10 horns rising like towers of war, he stood with a presence that chilled the blood of onlookers. His eyes burned like embers of fire, and his intent was as clear as the venom dripping from his sharp teeth. He was there not just to witness, but to disrupt, to devour and destroy. The child, whose destiny was to rule the nations with a rod of iron, now faced the imminent threat of an enemy who desired nothing less than absolute chaos. The dragon's presence was an affront, a direct challenge to the celestial decrees, and it knew that the birth of this child marked the beginning of its end. Its approach caused a tremor among the stars, a wave of fear that rippled through the spine of creation. For a moment, the universe seemed to bend under the weight of its malevolence. But this was the theater of an ancient war, a conflict that transcended time and space. The dragon, with its ferocity and fury, was not merely a threat, it was the embodiment of all opposition to the divine, a living manifestation of the evil that sought to unravel the threads of fate woven by God's hand. The tension between the light of new life and the darkness of the dragon was palpable, a dividing line between eternal hope and eternal destruction. On this celestial battlefield, the drama of good versus evil played out with an intensity that resonated through the ages, a prelude to battles yet to come. In the firmament, where the stars witnessed the eternal duel between light and darkness, the stage was set for a confrontation of epic proportions. Michael, the archangel, leader of the celestial hosts, rose with divine authority. His armor shone with the light of 1,000 suns, a beacon of hope and strength in the face of advancing darkness. Around him, legions of angels lined up, each bearing weapons forged in virtue and truth, ready to defend the celestial purpose against the dragon's corruption. The air vibrated with the sound of their wings, a symphony of determination and courage. Against them, the dragon roared challenges, its 7 heads spewing blasphemies and venom. The flames of its wrath tried to incinerate the angels' resolve, but Michael, towering and unshakable, commanded the battlefield with a presence that transcended mortal understanding. The ensuing battle was more than a mere physical confrontation, it was a war of wills, a clash of ideals where good faced evil in its purest and most destructive form. Swords clashed against infernal scales, and each strike from Michael was a decree of justice. The angels, facing a formidable enemy, fought with the strength of righteousness, each attack reflecting the light of divine truth. The sky, a silent witness to this eternal struggle, seemed to hold its breath as the fate of the child hung in the balance. With a final thunderous clash, Michael's will prevailed, the dragon was subdued, its fury contained by the firm hand of the archangel. This was not merely a triumph of strength, but a testament to the relentless power of good over evil. At the heart of this celestial storm, order was restored, but the war was far from over. Michael's and his angels' victory was a prelude, a promise that every battle fought in the name of good is a step toward the ultimate victory. In the aftermath of the celestial battle, a supernatural calm settled over the celestial realms. The dragon, with its 7 heads still roaring in defiance, was subdued by the force of divine justice, personified in the imposing figure of Michael and his angels. With an assertiveness that could only emanate from on high, they expelled the creature from the heights, banishing it from heaven in a spectacle of light and shadow. The dragon's fall was like a blazing meteor, a star plummeting into the abyss, marking not just its defeat but also the triumph of a greater power. The victory resonated through all spiritual realms, a vibrant sound that announced the downfall of evil and the exaltation of good. The sky, now free from its corrupt presence, shone with renewed brightness, each ray of light an ode to the freedom won. This victory was not just a celebration of a moment, but an eternal assurance for the woman and the child, symbols of new hope. The divine protection over them was palpable, as real as the glow of the stars above. The woman, who had faced the terror of persecution, now breathed a sigh of relief under the sacred mantle of divine security, her faith stronger than ever. The sky, now purified from the dragon's stain, served as a powerful reminder that, in the great drama of the universe, evil would not have the last word. Each angel who had fought, each sword raised in defense of justice, reaffirmed heaven's commitment that, no matter how fierce the battle, light will always find a way to prevail. And so, as peace returned to the firmament, the promise of protection and the constant presence of divine providence enveloped the woman and the child in a celestial embrace, whispering in their hearts that they were safe, loved, and eternally guarded. Under the shadow of the celestial victory, the woman's journey did not find its end, but a new beginning. As the echo of the battle still resonated through the heavens, a path opened before her, guided by a light that could only be described as divine. Led by invisible hands of mercy, she was taken to a place prepared with the purest of loves, the vastness of the desert, an unexpected refuge, far from the predatory gaze of the defeated evil. This desert, contrary to images of desolation one might imagine, was touched by the Creator to sustain and protect. Here, far from the tumultuous war between good and evil, the woman would find a sanctuary of peace. The desert sun, which could have been a harsh adversary, became a gentle witness to her recovery and renewal. Living waters sprang from nowhere, forming oases filled with palm trees and fresh water, symbolizing God's continual provision for those under His care. Each morning brought the dew that nourished the soil and soul, and each night, the starry sky covered the refuge with a cloak of tranquility. In this chosen exile, the woman found not only safety but a profound communion with the divine. The desert, with its vastness and isolation, transformed into a chamber of reflection and revelation, where each grain of sand seemed to carry a lesson in faith and perseverance. Protected by forces no enemy could penetrate, she grew in understanding and strength. Time in the desert was measured not in days or months, but in moments of spiritual growth and preparation. It was a personal retreat orchestrated by God Himself, a time to heal, learn, and strengthen for the chapters yet to be written in her extraordinary saga. Thus, in the heart of this vast and silent desert, the woman was safe, sustained, and above all, immensely loved. The certainty of her protection was as concrete as the mountains surrounding her, a constant reminder that even in the most unexpected places, the presence of God transforms emptiness into a home. Despite the celestial defeat and expulsion, the dragon's heart burned with a fury that knew no respite. Banished to the darkest shadows, it did not accept its fate quietly. Instead, its anger morphed into a new and terrible purpose. Determined to defy the decrees of heaven, it focused its seething grudge on the woman, the cause of its humiliation. In the desert refuge, where the woman found rest and renewal under divine protection, the dragon plotted its revenge. With a roar that shook the foundations of the world, it conjured a tumultuous river, a torrent of water as powerful and relentless as its own wrath. This was not merely a flow of water but a weapon forged in malice, intended to sweep the woman away from her sanctuary of peace. Like an uncontrollable flood, the waters surged through the desert, turning the dry land into a liquid battlefield. The river, swollen with the dragon's hatred, sought to swallow the woman, drag her into the chaos of the depths he now called home. This attack symbolized not only the persistence of evil but the depth of its despair in the face of divine order. But the desert, a stage for miracles since ancient times, would not yield so easily to corruption. As the menacing waters approached the woman's refuge, something extraordinary occurred. The earth, as if moved by its own will, opened up to receive the furious river. In an act of almost maternal protection, the desert swallowed the vengeful waters, thwarting the dragon's malevolent plans. At this moment, the struggle between the woman and the dragon revealed a deeper truth: even in the face of persistent evil, the forces of creation align to defend life and God's promise. The desert, far from just being a place of exile, became a symbol of resistance and resilience, a testament that even in moments of greatest danger, divine providence is sufficient to transform threats into testimonies of salvation. In the vastness of the desert, where silence usually reigns, a miracle unfolded before the watchful eyes of heaven and earth. The woman, still wrapped in the serenity of her divine refuge, found herself at the epicenter of a new attempt at destruction. The dragon, in its ceaseless fury, had summoned a furious river, an unrestrained torrent that sought to drag her into the abyss of his own bitterness. Yet, the desert, a stage for so many divine acts over the ages, would not allow such violence to disturb its hard-won peace. With an almost palpable reverence for the laws governing the greater good, the earth began to move in an unusual way. Not with the turmoil of an earthquake, but with the precision of a surgeon, it opened in a spectacle of power and protection. This was not a simple division of the soil, but an opening orchestrated by invisible hands, guided by the will of a force that transcends human comprehension. The river, in its blind fury, found not the woman it sought to destroy, but the open mouth of the desert, which swallowed it without hesitation. The waters, so threatening moments before, were suddenly absorbed, drawn into the bosom of the earth that gently closed over them. This act was not just a demonstration of protection but a powerful affirmation of creation's solidarity with God's purposes. The earth, by swallowing the river, not only saved the woman from a mortal threat but also reiterated the universe's commitment to divine order and justice. It was an intervention where the natural and the supernatural intertwined, making it clear that even in the most extreme circumstances, the environment and elements are active participants in safeguarding the servants of the Most High. In this moment of miracle and divine intervention, the earth proved to be more than just a backdrop for human dramas. It revealed itself as a fervent ally of those who, under God's guard, faced the storms unleashed by evil. Thus, in the heart of the desert, the woman remained unmoved, surrounded not just by divine protection but also by the faithfulness of the very earth she stood upon. On the desert horizon, where the miracle of the earth swallowing the river still resonated, the defeated figure of the dragon emerged with renewed rancor. Prevented from reaching the woman by the divine and the natural, he turned his fury toward a new target: her descendants, those who carried the promise of her legacy and the perpetuation of her faith. With every step the dragon took, the ground beneath him crackled with the energy of his untamed anger. The sky darkened slightly, a harbinger of battles to come. This was not the end of his war but a shift in the battlefield, an expansion of the conflict now spreading to involve all those connected to the woman's lineage. But what the dragon failed to see in its blindness and rage was that each attempt at destruction only strengthened the resolve of those it sought to devour. The descendants of the woman, aware of the sacrifice and protection their matriarch had received, rose up not just in self-defense but as bearers of a legacy of faith and divine determination. They prepared, not with weapons of war, but with shields of faith and swords of spiritual truth, forged in the promises of a God who had never forsaken them. With each new generation, the story of the woman and the heavenly intervention was told and retold, a constant reminder that despite the severity of the battles, the presence of God was an impenetrable fortress. As the dragon moved to wage war, a coalition of hope and resilience formed among the descendants of the woman. They knew that though storms might come, their unity and faith formed the front line of a much greater battle than any confrontation they could face individually. Thus, armed with the certainty that protection and final victory would be theirs, they prepared to face not just the dragon, but any challenge that the future might bring. This was not the end of their story, but the beginning of a saga of resistance, an ongoing chapter in the eternal struggle between light and darkness, where each faithful heart was both a warrior and a testament to the redemptive power of their faith. We conclude our journey through Revelation chapter 12 reflecting on the immutable truth of God's sovereignty. Despite the forces of evil that continue to challenge divine order, the narrative assures us that God remains in control. This topic invites us to meditate on our own resilience in the face of adversities. Just as the woman was protected and the child destined for the throne, we too are guarded under God's promise. The final message is one of unshakable hope and renewed faith. Amid the world's tribulations, God's victory is certain and eternal, and those who persevere in faith will share in this glorious redemption. We conclude with a call to vigilance and prayer, preparing our hearts for the challenges to come, confident in the promise that, greater is He who is in us than he who is in the world. We hope you have been inspired and strengthened by the truths revealed today. If you enjoyed this video and want to continue exploring the incredible and transformative stories of the Bible with us, don't forget to subscribe to the channel and hit the bell to receive notifications. Each story is a journey, and together, we can dive deeper into the teachings that have shaped humanity throughout the centuries. Subscribe now and become part of our community seeking to understand and live the eternal words of the Bible. Comment below how this story touched your heart, and share this video so others may also be inspired. Until the next video, continue reflecting and growing in faith.